Welcome to the HR Chat Show, one of the world's most downloaded and shared podcasts designed for HR pros, talent execs, tech enthusiasts, and business leaders. For hundreds more episodes and what's new in the world of work, subscribe to the show, follow us on social media, and visit hrgazette.com.
Welcome to another episode of the HR Chat Show. Hello, listeners. This is your host today, Bill Banham, and joining me on the show this time, I've got a newbie. I've got a first timer. Is the awesome Curtis Vincent, CHRO over at the Estate Registry, a digital estate management provider that utilizes cloud-based tools and services for intergenerational estate management. And I think I'm right in saying that our mutual connection who got us here today, Curtis, is the awesome Jeff Wald. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So big shout out to you, Jeff. Thank you very much for the intro. And Curtis, thank you for joining me on the show today. How are you doing?
Hey, Bill, I'm doing well. Thank you. Happy Monday. Good to be on the show, and thanks for the invite.
Yes, indeed. We are recording this on a beautiful spring Monday. And why don't you start, Curtis, by taking a minute or two and introducing yourself to our audience?
Yeah. Happy to. I'm Curtis Vincent. I'm joining you today from Wilmington, Delaware, which is the corporate headquarters of the Estate Registry. I don't live far from here. I grew up and now live in Newark, Delaware with, I'm married, have two boys, a puppy dog that live with me. Like this time of year, we try to spend some time outside. So forcing me in for a little bit of a podcast today, but looking forward to chatting about Legacy now and what it has to offer.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the HR Chat Podcast. If you enjoy the audio content we produce, you'll love our articles on the HR Gazette. Learn more at hrgazette.com. And now, back to the show.
Okay, well then let's get into it. As there has been a rise in digital estate planning, how does Legacy now differentiate itself from traditional estate planning services? And as part of that, what unique benefits does it provide?
Yeah, that's a good question. When you talk about traditional estate planning resources, I think you're kind of referring to the fireproof lockbox in mom and dad's coat closet, where they now try to shove everything that they have into one small place to make our lives a little bit easier when it comes to them passing things on. But things have modernized quite a bit. To your point, there's several options out there when it comes to digital estate planning. I feel Legacy now checks the vast majority, if not all, of the boxes. I think first and foremost, it's easy to use. Even persons like myself find it intuitive. I don't need a user manual. I don't have to spend time on the phone with support, which makes life a little bit easier for me. It's adaptable as well. Able to change and grow and expand as a person's life changes, grows, and expands, and it's able to capture all those things. I think personally, I mentioned mom and dad's fireproof safe. I think what's unique about it is, aside from being a storing house for things like wills and other important documents, there's also areas we've created to really protect family legacy, family history, whether it's digital photographs or digital videos that one want to pass down from generation to generation. We find ways to work that into the technology too. So some of the traditional estate planning stuff is there, but then some of the, let's call it cutting edge estate planning services and strategies have been built into.
This episode of the HR Chat Podcast is supported by Nebula Academy, a technology industry-focused workforce accelerator that offers learning programs to prepare individuals for successful careers. Our approach is centered around cognitive neuroscience research, combining the latest research and modern learning methods to create informative and psychologically safe learning experiences. Our programs enable individuals to achieve career readiness and immediate impact in their chosen field. Moreover, we help businesses create positive learning experiences, increase productivity, enhance team performance, and build upskilling resources to meet the needs of today's modern workplace. Learn more at nebulaacademy.com. Thanks, and now back to the HR Chat Show.
Why do you believe digital estate planning is the missing piece then in employee financial security, and how does it tie into overall financial wellness? And I guess also as part of that answer, maybe you can share some examples of the stresses and the anxieties that employees can feel when they don't feel like their financials are well looked after.
Yeah, no, you make some good points there, Bill. I think, why it's the missing piece. I think ultimately employees are looking for, benefits that align with their personal goals. whether it's wealth attainment or whether it's developing a family or whether it's, establishing a personal legacy if they're a little bit further on in their careers. They want benefits that align with them. And this is an example of that. In some of the markets that I've run across, there's things like salary sacrifice for EV cars or to purchase a bicycle to support wellness or health that way. And we see this very much the same. You mentioned the stresses around employees' lives. We all live relatively complex lives nowadays. Aside from the regular things like being parents or being an employee, there's also just, for me personally, there's a million different online accounts, a million different online registries. We're trying to live our lives kind of duplicitously in a variety of different ways. And it makes things somewhat complex, but having a tool like Legacy Now to bring organization to that not only keeps everything in a safe, secure location, but also alleviates some of the stress that builds when we're trying to live our lives simultaneously in so many places. So employee well-being, certainly is a byproduct of it. We find that employees that are freeing themselves of stresses are usually able to focus a little bit more on the job at hand. And we hope that Legacy Now is a tool to help them do that.
Okay, thank you very much. What are some of the key things that employers should look for then when deciding on which digital estate management tools they want to incorporate into their employee benefits packages?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that I would take a look at specifically. We're talking about Legacy Now being a storing house of everything that's important to an employee. So cybersecurity and maintaining a digital protection environment is very important. I, as an HR professional, would vet that very thoroughly before moving forward with an estate planning tool, because it does really encompass an employee's total life. I think user support, ability for the employees themselves to get questions answered when they need to, or even be provided with strategies that help them to better utilize the technology, I think is an important side of it too. And then ease of administration is always a question for the HR teams. Whenever an employee benefit is implemented, one of the first questions I get from my team is, what's the internal lift and what's required? So, those questions are asked in most benefit platforms that are being vetted by HR, and I don't think Legacy Now is any different.
This episode of the HR Chat podcast is supported by My Staff Shop, the UK's only employee-owned employee benefit provider. We provide a range of competitive and flexible employee benefit solutions to help you improve your employee value proposition, from exclusive deals and discounts to help your people stretch their salaries, to effective reward and recognition programs, and a comprehensive health and well-being offering. We pride ourselves on our friendly and collaborative way of working, putting the interest of our clients at the heart of everything we do. Learn more at mystaffshop.com. Thanks, and now back to the HR Chat Show.
Okay, thank you. By the way, doing a sterling job. Listeners, this is Curtis's first time doing a podcast. Isn't he good? We'll have to get him on again, I think. Curtis, many employees perceive estate planning as complicated or something that they'll handle later. Why do you think it's imperative for employees to proactively plan? And what advice do you have to employers to get this message across, to help them make their employees understand that they need to get on this now?
Yeah, again, another good question, Bill. Ultimately, one would assume that a tool like this is aimed and targeted for those employees that are nearing their retirement age, that have already accumulated assets, have already built their wealth. But there's some real value to it, even for employees that are newer or younger in their careers. I think in reality, almost everybody, regardless of age or net worth, has something worth protecting. Doesn't have to be monstrous. It doesn't have to be huge, but there's certain things. I've mentioned digital photographs and important documents. Even those have value protecting over the course of one's career. I think, you think of estate planning oftentimes as being how one passes wealth from one generation to the next. But I think there's also value in ensuring that as a younger professional, things like my children's legacies are starting to be built, that I have control over things like guardianship if and when something bad were to happen. I think it just brings some of that organization to life. I think aside from that, employers should correlate it to make it worthwhile to the younger professionals. I think it's important that they correlate it to existing benefits. Most employers are offering a 401k or some type of life insurance or short-term disability. These are all great benefits. And having a consolidated location for the details of and the true the value of those benefits to be stored has some real importance, I think. So correlating to those benefits, I think financial wellness and workshops are always a good idea. Oftentimes those at certain points can correlate back to the idea of estate planning. And then I think it's also just fostering within the business an environment that values proactive planning. Talking to employees about not just today, but tomorrow sometimes helps to solidify their loyalty to the employer, but also helps to prepare that employee for the next phases and stages of their life, both in and out of the business.
Once in a while, an event series is born that shakes things up, it makes you think differently, and it leaves you inspired. That event is Disrupt HR. The format is 14 speakers, 5 minutes each, and slides rotate every 15 seconds. If you're an HR professional, a CEO, a technologist, or a community leader and you've got something to say about talent, culture, or technology, Disrupt is the place. It's coming soon to a city near you. Learn more at disrupthr.co.
And for employers looking to integrate estate planning and options such as Legacy Now into their benefits package, what are the most important first steps that they should take? What does that first conversation look like with you guys? How can they get things going?
Yeah, I think it starts with engaging their employee interest. Not to say that surveys always have to happen, but it's good to know what their employees are wanting or desiring within the benefit package. When it comes to the product itself, Legacy Now, there's plenty of opportunity for demonstrations of how the technology works. I think it's important before considering any solution, I think it's important for the HR teams to learn the probate process and understand themselves, the value that it would hold and bring to their employees. I think that helps with the advocacy as well. So educating the group, educating the team, and then last but not least, reviewing the options carefully. I've already mentioned the idea of data and cybersecurity. I think that's an important thing to evaluate at the very top of that list. And then followed by ease of use, intuition within the technology, really the benefits of it separate from those that are in the marketplace. I think it makes sense for people to weigh those.
We are flying through this. I've just got one more question for you for now, Curtis. Yeah. It's a doozy. And that is, how can our listeners connect with you? And now how can they learn more about all the cool things that your team gets up to?
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. We're starting to share a lot more externally through media about Legacy Now and the other Estate Registry products. In the works right now are a few articles that I've participated in that they get a little more information about the technology, about the tool, about the benefit as an HR professional would see it. I'm also very active on LinkedIn. We as a business try to make sure that updates are provided there regularly. So keep an eye on myself and or the Estate Registry group as we put out more and more information about Legacy Now and the other products that are still to come.
Rock and roll. Well, that just leaves me to say for today, Curtis, Vincent, you are a superstar. You're a natural. I feel like this might be a new career for you, sir. We'll definitely get you back on this, and I'll probably bother you for some other pods I'm involved with as well. But for today, thank you very much for being my guest.
My pleasure, Bill. It's great being here. Take care, and I hope to talk soon.
And listeners, as always, until next time, happy working.
Thanks for listening to the HR Chat Show. If you enjoyed this episode, why not subscribe and listen to some of the hundreds of episodes published by HR Gazette? And remember, for what's new in the world of work, subscribe to the show, follow us on social media, and visit hrgazette.com.